Hello guys, welcome to today's video. So in this video, I'm going to be introducing you guys to blend modes, right? So I'm going to give you a quick introduction to blend modes, and after that we are going to proceed, or we're going to come back to our lectures on selection and masking, okay? And I'm going to show you how to do this cool effect where your subject leaves from a frame and goes out of that frame. I'm sure you guys remember this particular design here. Is from here, right? Where we got to clip our objects, or we got to clip our subjects, which are these individuals here, to shapes. But now I want us to do in such a way that we can get them pop out of that particular shape, okay? So we'll get to look at this as well. And if you notice on the background here, we have an image here. And this image, a blend mode has been applied to the image. So this is how the image looks like originally, like this. And we apply a blend mode to this particular image, okay, to have that cool effect like that, right? Then at the end of this video, we are going to create this, okay? So you now see this guy coming out of the circle. So this is the original image here, like this, and we now have something like this at the end. And we also applied blend modes here. So here we have these so we have these images here of fire. Let me just quickly get there. I saw it right. So I have this image like this, and we apply blend modes to that image to have this effect. Same thing here, we have this particular image here, texture, right? And we apply a blend mode to it on this gradient here to now come up with this cool effect we have on the background here, right? I'm sure that makes sense to everybody. All right, so let's get started. So let's just create a new document. Let's create a new A4 document. And let's take landscape, and we take create like that. So we want to talk about blend modes, okay? Before talking about, let me just get back to this one here and explain what blend modes are using this particular image here, this design here. So we have done our design, right? So I'll just take away this here. So let's say we have done this design, right? Then now we decide to bring in that particular picture, which is this here. Why is that stuff? Okay, let me just get to the image really quick. So it's under here. And it's under here. Like this. So I'll just drag it and drop like that. So I'm dragging and dropping this image to Photoshop. Like this, right? Then I want it to fill up the entire width. So I'm just going to make it big like that, right? Move it up. And pull it to diffuse up the entire width of my screen, of my camera. Like this, and I think that's okay. I'll just drag it down a little bit, and I'm going to accept. Next thing I want to do is I want to take it right down to the last layer, because if you observe it at the very first layer, right? So I want to take it to the very last layer. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag it and take it somewhere here, just above the blue solid color layer. So I can turn it off like this using the toggle visibility icon, right? And turn it back on side. I want it to just be above this layer here, and I can decide to maybe even transform it a little bit. So let's just drop it again like this, and I think I can. Okay, then what I can do is I can right click on it, right click, then I take flip horizontal, okay, then I can increase the size again. So I have something like this. So I think I like this better now. I just wanted this tip here of this building to show. Okay. Now, blending simply means you're combining pixels and colors of two layers, okay? So let's say we have these two layers here. We have the layer of this build of this city, and now we have the layer of this solid color here. So we want to apply a blend mode that's going to combine. So we want to apply a blend mode to this layer here that's going to examine the pixels and the colors underneath it, okay? So we have this layer here, and when we apply a blend mode to it, it's going to mix this layer with this other layer down here in different ways depending on the blend mode you select, okay? So when you're on this layer, just now quickly go up here, and for most of you guys, you'll see normal up here, normal, right? Just beside opacity. So click on that drop down, and you have a list of blend modes here. So these are various blend modes we have here. So make sure you have this layer selected, because we are applying the blend mode to this layer here. Okay, layer of the city. So I'll click on my blend mode drop down now, and I have something like this. All right. So for those using Photoshop 2020 and above, or is it 2021 above, when you point on it, it should change even without you clicking on it. Okay. You can preview before you select a blend mode. So see what happens. So for the different blend modes, the first thing is that it's divided into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 groups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 groups. So the first group has normal and dissolve. The second group has darken, multiply, color blend, linear burn, and darker color. The next group has lighten, screen, color dodge, right? The next one starts with overlay. The next group starts with difference, and the last group starts with hue. Okay. So let's talk about this first. So this first group here, we'll just keep that for now. Let's talk about this second group here. Okay. So this second group basically makes pixels in an image darker. All right. So it takes away brighter pixels and makes pixels darker. Right. The next group here makes pixels brighter. So it takes away the darker pixels in an image and it makes pixels brighter, right? Then this other one here combine pixels in certain ways, which I'm not going to explain in, right? I'll talk about this later on again when we're diving deep into blend modes. So I just want to show you guys how blend modes work. So what's happening here is this. So if I select multiply, for example, this multiply. So Photoshop is basically taking this layer here, right, and mixing with layer under here to give us something, okay? So if I turn this off, we still have our blue here. It's not really changing anything on this particular layer here. It's just taking this layer here and mixing it in a certain way with the layer which is directly below it. Okay, I'm sure that makes sense. All right. So let's try other blend modes and let's see. So for those using Photoshop 2021 and below, you will have to select first before you can see the changes. Okay, and let's say we select like this. So you've seen the change. Notice we have this blue highlight still on our blend modes drop down. So you can use your arrow keys on the keyboard and move down to the next blend mode. So I use my arrow keys to move down. Now it's on screen. Down arrow key. Now it's on color dodge. Down arrow key. Now it's on linear dodge. And you keep on going down till you get what you want. Okay, like this. So you see, just blend modes helping us get these cool looking effects already, just like that. I think I really like this one as well, right? So you're using just your blend modes on your applying the blend mode to that layer. All right, to have this. I think I like this effect as well. So Photoshop is basically mixing the pixels, okay, the pixels and let's say the color values of this particular layer to this other layer below it, also the layers below it. So in this case here we have this layer below it. Okay, it's mixing in certain ways, and I don't want to go into the details of how each blend mode works, right? But just understand that it's mixing those two layers in certain ways. I'm sure that makes sense to you guys. Okay, so as I said again, just to recap, this second group here makes brighter pixels disappear and makes the pixels generally in that particular image darker. That's when I apply this darker blend mode here. All of the bright pixels are gone. So if I go back to normal, you see this is what we have, right? You see those bright pixels there, how bright the stuff is. When I go to any of these, if I select any of these blend modes here, it really darkens the pixels of that image, right? Now if I go to the next group here, so it makes pixels brighter. Okay, are you seeing? So it's making the pixels of this. So if I come back here to normal, that's the initial, having no blend mode active is normal. This is how it looks like. And if I go to brighter, this light, this third group here, which is the lighten family, okay, you see it blends the image layer and the layer below it in certain ways just to make it brighter. So this second group here is to darken your layer or darken your pixels in that layer in a certain way by combining with the layer under it. And this third group here is to brighten them up. Okay, then now we have this other ones here which you can experiment with. Okay, and that's that. So in this my case here, I took multiply and I now have something like this. Sure, that makes sense. Now if I move this layer here to the very top here, so you see it's now combining the pixels from this layer with all other layers in certain ways. You now see how it's affecting this ones here. Okay, still in the darken, so the multiply thing. So if I choose some other thing here, you see how it's affecting them now. It's affecting them in different ways. Okay, like that. So it affects. So when I apply a blend mode to a layer, right, Photoshop tries to mix the pixels and the color values of this layer here with all the layers below it, okay, in certain ways depending on the blending option you've selected here. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly bring that back down to the bottom of our layer system. So somewhere here, still above this guy here. Okay, so let's go back to the document we created and let's just come back here and let's download some images. So these are some images here, right? Now let me bring in fire, for example. Okay, so I've written fire it's directly above this blue layer. So let me just take this up like this. Okay, so now this fire is above this building here, right? Now since it has this black on it, so how do you remove this fire from this black background? Very simple. It has black on it, so we should take a blend mode that brightens things up, right? Which is this third group here, this lighting family. So you see when I take any blend mode in this lighting family, it takes away the black from the background. Do you see? So let me just turn off this layer here, turn off this one as well. Let's have just this fire like this, okay? So when I select any of this lighting family here, it takes away the darker pixels. But now you cannot see any value here because it has nothing to mix to do the mixing on. It just has this canvas here which is pure white. All right, so that's why you see nothing. But if I bring in these guys here and now go back there and do something like this, so you now see it's mixing that particular layer there with the layers underneath it. I'm sure that makes sense. So it's basically taking away the white, sorry, it's taking away the black from that particular image. That's why you can have a cool effect like this. All right, I'm sure that makes sense to everybody. So let me delete that and bring in another one. So let's bring in this one here. So let's say I worked on your design and you want to add in a lens flare, right? Let's say I've downloaded this image here, lens flare, and it has a dark background. Very simple. Just bring it in and use which family of blend modes? Exactly, the lighten family, which is the third one here. Do you see? It takes away that black from the background like that, right? So in this case, I'm just going to experiment to see which one works better for me. And I think I like screen and also like lighten. Yes, so I'll take the screen, right? And you can make it bigger like that. So you can have something like this. Let me use my R keys to move it up. So you can have something like this. Okay, I'm sure this makes sense to everybody. Right, I can decide to, now, if I zoom in, notice that it's kind of rough here. Do you see? These corners here are kind of rough. So what can I do to make those, to make it kind of soft? Very simple. Select that layer. This is the layer here, right? The layer of the lens flare. So let me just rename this to lens flare like this, right? Okay, then I'll create an empty mask like that, right? Then I'll get my brush tool and I want to set it to black here. So I'll press B on the keyboard to get my brush tool, this first one here. Then I'll set my foreground color to black like that. Then I'll just paint this corners here with black. But before I paint, I want to make my brush very soft. So the hardness here should be what? 0, not 100%. If it is 100%, see what's going to happen. So when I come here and brush here, do you see how hard it is? So let me just do Ctrl Z twice to go back. And I want the brush to be 0% hard, like that hardness of 0%. And I'll come here, increase the size of the brush and brush from the corners. See what's happening now. It's becoming very soft at those corners there, like that. And I'll do the same thing under here as well. Do you see? So I'm just brushing around a black soft brush like that. Okay. And like that. So we have something like this. And in case the light is too bright, this light here is too bright, you can drop the opacity a little bit. So I have something like that. Okay. I think I like it like that. Okay. So that's that. So let me just recap what I've done here. So I brought in this particular image here. Let's get there. Which was looking like this. I used this lighten blend mode to take away the black from it, okay? Then I added a mask to it so that I can brush these corners here because these corners are looking rough. If I just go into it, you notice how rough it's looking. So let me just get back. I think I took screen, not lighten screen. Look at this corners here. Let me zoom in. Do you see? It's very rough and we don't want that. So I created an empty mask here, like so. Let me just go back. So I created a mask by clicking on the layer, then come down here and click here. I now have the mask and I can now click on this mask here, select the mask thumbnail here, get my brush tool, set black on my foreground color. Then I just simply brush like that. Okay, till I have something like this. I'm sure this makes sense to everybody. So that's just how you use blend modes. So let's get another one. So now let's say we have this image here. Let's bring this image and see what we can do with it. So I'll drag and drop this texture here, right? Or just make it fill up the entire screen like that, and accept, and I'll take it to the layer somewhere here. Okay, so let's see which blend mode we can apply to it. So I'll just keep on trying. Okay, let me just make this fill up the whole screen. Yeah, now accept, and I'll experiment with blend mode. So this time around, I don't know the blend mode I want to use, but I think I just like that textured background feeling. Okay, so I'm just going to experiment with my blend mode until I find something I think I like, right? So I experiment all of that. I think I like this one because it's very subtle. This soft light. Let's try again. Okay, this one is very harsh. And okay, let's try overlay. Yeah, I think I like overlay. I think I like soft light as well. Let's see these other ones here. Yeah, this one's not really giving me something reasonable. Okay, I think I like darken as well. So I like darken, I like overlay, I like soft light as well. So let's just go with darken like that. Then notice you have this blue highlights too on it. Whenever you select your blend mode, most times you have this blue highlights coming. So just press enter on your keyboard, and this blue highlight here is going to disappear. So I'll press enter on my keyboard, and the blue highlight has disappeared like that. So you see, I've just added some texture to this here just by simply adding this image to it. So I've turned it off, I've turned it on, and it adds depth to your design. And I'm going to explain to you guys what depth is, right, in upcoming videos when we'll start talking about design theory. Does this make sense to everybody? Exactly. Very simple things like this, right, which you can get done in less than no time. So you see how easy these things are. So we're just building up on the concepts to be uncovering so far, right? So that's what blending is. You are just basically trying to mix a particular layer with it under, or with the layers under it in certain ways. Okay, I'm sure that makes sense to everybody, right? So if I turn off these two layers here, this is how this looks like, just with this blue background here. Okay, just with this blue here. And if I add this one, I apply blend mode to it of multiply. This is what it was before, adding a blend mode of multiply, and this is what we have now. If I bring in this one and I experiment the blend modes, so I decided to go with darken, or I could go with overlay or soft light. So based on the effect you want, right? So let me go overlay this time around. Then remember, you see this blue highlight here, right? Just press enter on your keyboard for it to disappear. And I've done that. And you have something cool like this, a cool looking effect like this. Alright, very, very simple things like that. So let's now click on this guy's face here, okay? Then let's bring in this other one here. So I've brought this one, it's above the layer of that guy there, right? Let's just press enter on the keyboard. And let's try some blend modes and see what happens. Let's try this lighten family here, okay? Yeah, this light family here. Or even overlay, let's say overlay. Okay, overlay does not make sense. So I'll just try this third group here. So lighten, screen. Yeah, I think I like screen. I'll go with screen, okay. And I'll make this a little bit bigger, like that. Okay, something like this. Then I can accept that. I can decide to drop its opacity a little bit. Or let's just allow the opacity there. Let's just take it a little bit over his head like that. Then we can now take it below his layer. Something like that. Right. Okay, let's just leave it above the not below. Let's leave it like that. Then we can get let's create a mask on this particular stuff here, right? Create a mask, get your brush tool. Now we want to just quickly brush with black here. Then what I want to do is this. I still want these things to be there, but I don't want the intensity to be that much. Okay. So while I'm on my brush tool, I'm going to come up here to see where I see flow. So how much do you want your brush to flow? Like now, when the flow is on 100%, I want it to flow very, very little. So I'll get to like 3%. Okay. Remember, we want to erase this stuff, but we don't want the flow to be at 100%. I want it to be at 3% so that when you click on it, like now I'm clicking on it, it's taking it away, but in a very soft manner. Okay, are you seeing? It's taking it away, but in a very soft manner, like that. So I'm trying to add a little overlay to this guy here. Though this is not the perfect overlay color I would have downloaded, overlay image I would have downloaded, but I'm just trying to show an example, okay? Where you see how people overlays have been added to your subjects in Photoshop. So basic stuff like that. These are really basic things. For those of you who have been following up, I think everything is making sense, right? Okay, so that said and done. Yeah, so that's basically it about blend modes, right? So you're just trying to mix layers in certain ways, okay? So some blend modes will give you interesting results, and some others will not really work for your use case. I'm sure that makes sense to everybody, right? Perfect. So let's move on. So if you have any question again on blend modes, we'll get to talk about that in the comment section or on the group or in my DM, right? So let's move on now to how to create this effect. So I need just delete this one here, deleted. How to create this effect like this, okay? Now, let's come here. So this is our new document here. And let's create a solid color here. So I'll come here and solid color, and let's take green this time around, no. Yeah, let's take this value of green. And let's draw a rectangle here. Like this. Push at the center. I think I like this value. Yeah, I like that. Then let's make the corners round. Slightly round. Okay, accept. Make the corners slightly round. Yeah, I think I like that. Then we could change the color of the shape to, since we're using green, that let's change the color to, like, let's say yellow, maybe yellow, or let's say something like blue. Yeah, light shade of blue. Let's say this, right? Then I'll take away the stroke. I don't need the stroke. Okay, so now let's bring in that image in particular. You can use any image, but I think I'll use this one. So let's bring in this one here. Okay, so let's just make it bigger like this. Then one thing you can do is, you can always, while you're transforming, right, you can turn down the opacity of the image so you can see where it's been placed. Are you seeing? So I'm turning down the opacity of the image. After I accepted my transformation, I can see transform. I just want to do the calculation and see where it's going to be placed, okay? Because we want this head here to extend out of the shape here. So we'll clip this. If we clip this image here, so this shape here, we also want it to extend outside like this. So that's how I'm dropping the opacity so that I can see and do my calculations well, okay? And I think I really like this one, so I'll accept. Then I can now bring back my opacity up like this, okay? So what's the first thing we need to do? Yes, as most of you have guessed, we get our quick selection tool and remove it from the background. So Photoshop is doing this work. Okay, I think this is looking good already. If it's not looking good, you guys can always refine your selections, right? Then you click on mask like that, and the mask has been created for us. Now there are two things we have to do. So the first thing is this: if you clip this guy here to this shape here, it's going to look like this. So always make sure that this guy here, the layer of this our subject, is directly above the layer of this shape here. So you right click on the layer of this our subject, which is the man, and you can take clipping mask, okay? And you have something like this. Okay, let me just do Ctrl Z to go back. What's the shortcut to create a clipping mask instead of coming to this place and right clicking and going around there? So what you do is this: you hold Alt on your keyboard, Alt, that's option on the Mac, and you point in between the layer, the two layers. Then you see this icon should pop up. If I leave Alt on my keyboard, it disappears. But if I hold Alt or option on my keyboard for the Mac users and point in between the two layers, you see that icon there. Then just click once, and it's going to create a clipping mask for you like that. And this what indicates a clipping mask tree, showing that this layer here has been clipped to this other layer under here. Okay, so you can get your move tool and move it around if you want to. Like if you move it down, we now have this like this. But I want it to extend. I want this guy to extend up here, like this, right? So how do we get that done? We still need a clipping mask so that this guy is clipped here, right? The next thing we can do is we want to duplicate this layer here, this layer we currently have here. So how do you duplicate this layer? You can right click on it and you can take duplicate layer like that, or you can just click on layer like this and press Ctrl J on your keyboard. Ctrl and J, not G, J like that, J as in jungle, right? J on your keyboard. So we have the layer duplicated like this, and we now have this here. So this is the copy here. So let me just rename the two layers. I'll call the first one man, and I'll call the second one copy, like that, copy of man, okay? Now, why am I duplicating this layer? Very simple. So let me turn off this layer here. So this is what we had here, right? This guy under here. Now the reason I'm duplicating this one here is so that I can mask out this other parts here and allow just this part at the top here. So let me just turn this off again. So we have this under here, right? So the only thing that's left is the head here. That's why I duplicated this one to have this one here. Then I'll come to the mask here, click on it, get my brush, set black to it. And what do? I'm just going to brush out this. Okay, I'll set the flow back to 100%. Remember, we changed the flow from the tool options of the brush tool up here, right? we change the flow to 0 to 3%. So let's take it back to 100%. Set our foreground color to black, and let's brush. So we are hiding, okay? Now, when we brush and get to this point, it looks like it's no more working. It's working. The reason why it's still showing us the guy is because we have another copy here. Do you see? If I turn this copy under off, you now see it's working like this. Are you seeing? So we have these two copies here. So this underline layer here is to contain this frame here, right? Then the only use of this second layer I've created here, that's the second image, the reason why I've duplicated the image is so that we can just basically have this head here like this. So if I turn this off, it disappears. If I bring this back, it appears. If I turn this layer under like this, so we now have this, and we have just this layer up here. So the only purpose of this layer up here is to bring the head outside like this, okay? To bring this head outside, and we now have an effect like that. So we have two layers here, and what I do most of the times, I just group them. So I have 1, 2, and 3 layer of this shape as well. Okay, so I can just, how do you group these 3 layers? Just click on the first one, hold shift, click on the last one here, which is a rectangle here, and hold shift, click there. Okay, then to group it, you can just come down to this group icon here, or you can do Ctrl G on your keyboard. So you've created a group like that, which has those things there like that. Okay, then you can expand your group by clicking on this little drop down here like that. Makes sense. Now, what if you want to move this guy to the left or to the right? So if I click and drag to the left like that, you now see it distorts the image. Okay, so whenever you want to move this guy, you always have to move them together. Okay, so I'll do Ctrl Z, and so if I want to move this guy to the left or to the right, I'll make sure I select these 2 layers together like that before I come and move my move tool. Are you seeing? Always make sure they are selected together. The layers are selected together. I'm sure this makes sense to everybody. Okay, so let me just re-emphasize on this. If you want to move this guy up, down, left, bottom, right, if you move just this layer here, so you're moving this first layer here alone, it's going to distort things like this. So that's not what you're supposed to do. What you're supposed to do is this. Always make sure that you select, so I'll just do Ctrl Z to go back. Select the 2 layers like that. Then you can come and move now. So you're moving the 2 layers together. Are you seeing? You're moving these 2 objects together because you have the layer selected, the 2 layers selected. So you're moving them together like this. I'm sure this makes sense now. And that's how you get something like this done. Okay, very simple, right? Exactly, very simple stuff. And if you want to transform, simple, select the 2 layers and you can transform as you want, right? Now if you transform too much, you now see this other one will start showing. That's no problem. So if you transform and you have something like this, let's say you have something like this, yeah, you can accept. Then you can come back to this one here. Let's turn this off and see it looks like. Okay, you can even decide to get your brush and still brush away this thing here. So you can even set this one to a hard brush, because it does not really matter. Hard brush, you can brush like this, and you can turn on back this layer here. Now remember, the only purpose of this layer here on top is for the head. Okay, it's for the head. That's the only purpose of this layer on top, for the head, because under here we already have this, his body, and this other section say covered. So the purpose of this layer above here is for the sections that go out of the clipping mask shape here, the shape which the images are being clipped to. Okay, so that's the only purpose of this extra layer here like that. So I'm sure this makes sense now. So though we have this rough stuff here, this layer under it covers up for that like this. Makes sense to everybody, right? Exactly. So this is how things like this are done. So I can even come to this rectangle here and decide to really round the corners. So I've selected the rectangle layer there and really round the corners, and I have something like that. And I can decide to do something like this, and just make it, let's see it like that. Accept, then like this. Yeah, I can decide to drop the size of the rectangle, move it around. Let's see, have something like this. Yeah, move it around. So I'm moving around the rectangle like that. Okay, so we have something like this, right? And I can decide to add a drop shadow to this rectangle. And how do you add a drop shadow to the rectangle? Double click at this corner here, or you right click and take blend options. Okay, so what I showed you guys last time was that to add a drop shadow or a stroke to something like this layer, to layers, you can right click at the corner there and take blend options, and you would have this window which comes up. Another way to get that done is just double click at the corner here. Now if you have content, let's say your layer has a very long name like this, for example, right? You always notice that Photoshop leaves some space. Let's just do that again. Irrespective of how long the name is, Photoshop is going to leave some little space here for you on the right. So when you're double clicking, don't double click on the name. You double click on the space on the right, okay? Double click and you now have the window which pops up like this, right? So to add a drop shadow, click on drop shadow here. If you cannot find it here, go to this FX down here, click on it and you see drop shadow, okay? So you click on the word drop shadow itself, not on this icon here, but on the drop shadow text itself, like that, all right? Then you can play around your drop shadow by doing these things here, which I'm not going to explain again because I think we are releasing this before. So I'll do that and I'll understand that again. Play with the angle. Use this, then drop. Yeah. Yes, I think I like this. Drop the opacity. Okay, so that's how you can get stuff like this done, and you can now just select this your background layer here, this solid color here, and you can bring in whatsoever image you want to bring in. So for my case here, I want to bring in this buildings of cities here. For some reason, I like using this image a lot, so I'll just do this like this. Okay, and guess what I want to do here? Yes, most of you already guessed. I want to apply a blend mode to this image here. So click on this and apply a dark blend mode like that. Let's see which one I'll go with. Yeah, I think I like color. Let's see. Okay, I think I like multiply. Let's try dark again. I like multiply. So I like multiply. I notice the highlight we have here. So I'll press enter for that to disappear. Okay. And you can even decide to drop the opacity of the layer if you want to, but I don't want to do that, so I'll allow that. I might want to make this my solid color here darker. What I'm talking about is this background here. It's kind of light, so I want to make it darker. So how do you change that color? Simple. Double click on this thumbnail here. Double click and on this thumbnail here. Let's see. Why is it not working? Let me try again. Click here and double click inside here. For some reason, this thing is not working again. I'm not sure why it's not working. Let's see. Okay, let me create a new one and see something. What's happening? What's happening to my Photoshop? So click here, new solid color. Take OK and see what happens. Okay. And take OK like that. Now drag this down here. Double click. Something is wrong with this my Photoshop. I don't know what's happening today. But anyways, no issues. That's fine. So I'll close this up and drag this back down. And we have something like this. So you guys try it out. I'm not sure what's happening today with my version of Photoshop. So normally when you click on that, it's supposed to work. Maybe I've done something. Yeah, I'll check that out. Right. Okay, so I think we have something like this. And so that's how you get that done. Okay, so now let's do this one here. So how can you get this stuff done? Very simple stuff. So by now I think everything already makes sense to you guys. Most of you can already do this thing by now. So the first thing I want to do is create a new layer. Take A4, then have it portrait like that, and I'll take create. Okay, what's happening to Photoshop today? It's getting very funny. Very funny. Okay. Do you know what, guys? Let me just turn off my Photoshop and restart it. Okay. Alright, so we are back in Photoshop. Okay, so create a new document. A4 portrait, they create like this. It's behaving the same way. I'm supposed to restart my machine, most likely. Okay, no issues. So then let's go here So I'll provide all of these images in a folder, okay, in our Google Drive folder, and I'll link it to the description of the video. So let's drag and drop this guy here. Accept. The next thing we want to do is want to cut him out of his background. So get any selection tool, select subject, and I'm not going to refine the selection. I'll not do that. If you guys want to do that, then that would be great. And I'm going to hold on. Okay, that's create the selection for me, and I'll click on mask. It does mask that out for me. Then I want to create a solid color here. So now I want to have. Let's just go back to what I want to show you guys here. This is what I want us to do. Let me just open up the JPEG format without the layer scenes. This is how it looks like. Okay, like this. So we need to have a green gradient behind here. Then we need to have bring this image now here. So let's just go and do that. So I want us to click on this background layer here and create a green gradient, a radial gradient, adjustment layer. So let's click on that adjustment layer icon down here. Go to gradients like that. Okay. Then we'll have this window which pops up. Click on this gradient dialog here. Not on the drop down, no. Click inside here once. Click on it once. You have now the second gradient editor here. And notice we have these little squares here. Who can remember how to get this fixed? Simple. Just click on this upper stop here. Click the ones and come down here. Then the opacity to 100% like that. So we need two colors. The first color, we need the green color like this. So select a version of green. Like this, take OK. We can change it if we don't really like that color. Then come to the second stop here. Double click on it, and we need yellow. So give it the illusion that it transitions from green to yellow. Okay, then let's take OK, take OK. Then let's come here and change the style from linear to radial. Then let's reverse it so that the yellow comes from inside. So let's click on reverse here. So we have something like this. Okay, then we can go back to our gradient by clicking inside here, and we can decide to change the colors if you want to change the colors. Okay, if you don't like the colors, but I think these colors are okay by me. Yeah, okay, I think this looks better now. So you can take OK like that, take OK, and take OK. All right, so we have created that. So next thing we want to do is want to bring in the image for the texture. So this image here, drag and drop. So I'll just zoom out really quick, and I might decide to make the image like this, big like this, or Ctrl Z, decide to rotate this image. So how do I rotate this image? Simple. Point your cursor at the end of the image till you see it change to this. So it changes from this to this. We just zoom in. So it changes from this head to this head like that. Okay. Just they can click and now start rotating like that. I think I like this, and I'll make this fill up like this, make this fill up like this. Makes sense to everybody, right? Or a step like that. Then what do we do? Very simple. Apply a blend mode to it. So I'm going to apply a blend mode to it, and I think I'll go with overlay. Yeah, overlay looks nice like that, right? Next thing, we bring fire. Okay, so let's go and bring this fire like this, and have the fire somewhere there. Accept. Then since the fire has black, we want to take a lighten blend mode, right? So let's say I think I like screen. Screen looks better. Screen. So I'll take screen. You can also transform the fire, right? Like that. Next thing we want to do is want to create a circle for this guy here. So let's create a circle. Get your shape tool, get the circles tool there, and you start drawing. And you hold shift to make it a perfect circle. And in case you're drawing it on the wrong place, you can hold spacebar on your keyboard to move it around like this. Make sure you still have it clicked down. Okay, then you can allow the spacebar and you continue drawing. Okay, and let's say we have something like, let's see, let's have it up here like this. So we have this shape here. It's black, currently black. Let's change this to white quickly. Change the color to white. Take away the stroke. We don't need the stroke. Then get my move to, and let's move this guy up a little bit, right? So what do we want here? The first thing is, if we clip this guy to the shape like this, he's kind of locked up inside here, right? We need two things. We need to show what his head, and we need to show what next his hands down here. Okay, so we need to duplicate this layer how many times? 2 times exactly. So one of the duplicates is going to be to reveal his head, then the second duplicate is going to reveal this bottom part of his hands. Okay, as simple as that. So let's duplicate it once. So come here and right click on it and take duplicate, or you can do Ctrl J on your keyboard. That's to select this layer here and do Ctrl J. So you have this copy here. So I can rename it to head like that. and click on the mask there, get a brush tool, and you brush on this bottom sections here, right? So if I turn off the other layer below, you see this what we have. So we have this part for the head, right? Turn it back on, makes sense. Then I'll come back down here to the initial one. So let me just rename it to original so that it does not mess us up. Now duplicate it again by doing Ctrl J, or I just right click there and take duplicate layer, right? And I can give it a name. So when I click on duplicate layer, you have this pop-up which comes up, and you can give it the name. So just give it the name of hands like that. So this is the layer here, right? And we want to reveal these hands here. Okay, so what we can do is this. Notice that it's clipped, this particular layer here is clipped to this shape here. So you see these two layers here, 1 and 2, are clipped to this shape here. We don't want it to be clipped to this shape. So what you do is you point in between here and you hold Alt on your keyboard to remove the clipping mask. Click on it to remove it. Makes sense, right? I showed you guys how to create the clipping mask, right? Now, seeing this guy here, these two images here are clipped to this one. We want just this one down here to be clipped to this shape here. Then this one for the hands, we want to release the clipping mask. So you right click on it like that, and you can take release clipping mask like that, or go back, Ctrl Z to go back, or you point in between here, hold Alt on your keyboard and click once. It releases the clipping mask. Okay, so let me just hide this layer. So we have our original work like this. This one up here is for the head, and now we have duplicated this one down here to use it for what? For the hands, exactly. So what do we want to do? We want to hide everything here except what? These hands here, right? So remember we have a mask here. So what some of you might want to do is you select the mask and get your brush tool and start brushing like this. But it's not going to be perfect. You mess things up really quick, okay? So how can I get this done? Very simple. The first thing is, let's create a selection of the hand here, down here. Now you have your mask active, right? No issues. Let's create a selection of the hand so that we can brush within that selection. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So I'll click on this layer here. Then I'll get, let's see my, okay, let's test out this magnetic lasso tool. See if it does some guesswork for us. So I'll come here. I want from here. So I'll click on allow, and I just drag down, and Photoshop is going to do the guesswork for me like that. Just going around like that. So I showed you guys how to use this tool in the video I uploaded today. That it was supposed to be uploaded yesterday, but I was unable to. So I uploaded it today, and I sent to you guys ready to watch. Okay, so just go to the previous video on this particular 30 days of Photoshop playlist, and you'll find how to use this tool there. It's called a magnetic lasso tool. Okay, so I think this okay. So I'll just now click, and click. So I have this selection active like this. I'll zoom out. So this is what I want to keep, right? Every other thing I don't want to keep it. So what do? I want to invert this particular selection. So I'll right click on it and take invert selection. So this here, select inverse. Okay. Now the reason I'm selecting inverse is because now when you have a selection active like this, right? If you click on the mask and you want to brush out, Photoshop is going to consider just what's in the selection. Okay, so we don't want to do this. So Ctrl Z to go back. So we want to invert the selection. So we can now brush out what is not part of the selection. Okay, so that's why let me just go back to the selection tool. Then I right click on the area covered by the selection, and I'll take select inverse. So instead of having this selected here, it's going to now select everything which is not this. So I'll do that. Not select and mask, I'll take select inverse. So you now see it's selecting. Just look out here, you see this stuff here. So this was that before, just this area here. Now when we take select inverse, we'll have now selecting everything apart from this here, right? Then you can come back to the mask here, take your brush tool, and now brush everything which is not that selection there, like that. You can even decide to brush this head there if you want to. But the only reason it's showing is because we have this other layers here showing the head, okay? Then when you're done, you either go to select and take select, or you press Ctrl D on your keyboard, as I explained in the previous video before this one, okay? And so if I turn off these other layers here, let's see. So you now see this what we have here, like that for the bottom part there, okay? Then this will have for the head here. So this for the head there, like that. So that's head and this bottom. Then what we have already clipped in the middle fills up that space like that. Should that make sense? And I'm sure most of you would notice that our selection was not so good. No issues. We can always refine the selection. So it's for this layer here for the hands, right? So click on the mask, get your brush tool, zoom in very much. Make sure you have the mask selected, set your brush to black, and start painting. Okay, make sure the hardness is it can be at 100%, yeah. And you can paint on to brush up those sections you want to clean up. Like that. Okay, so you can spend some time on this, which I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to spend time doing refinement. Yeah? So you can spend some time refining the corners. You can make it a little bit soft, like maybe 90% soft like that. Yeah, and zoom out, and you can fix this up as well. Again, we zoom in, like make sure you zoom in really much so you can see those details while doing that. And that's how you get something like this done, okay? So I can decide to take this a little bit further by duplicating this fire image here. So Ctrl J on the keyboard, and I can rotate it. Let's see, what am I doing? Okay, wait, what am I doing? Okay, so click on this one, point here, and I can rotate this second copy like this. Okay, and I can drop it a little bit, something like this, right? And I can add a stroke to this circle here. Can duplicate, not duplicate, double click on that layer there. That's for the layer of the circle. Click on stroke and increase its size. Okay, even change the color if I want to. Can give it a different color if you want to. Can even give it a gradient. Okay, depends on you. Alright. Okay, then you can give it the shape now, a drop shadow. That's the circle itself, shadow, like that, if you want to. Okay, without knowing that, so we'll have this. So that's how you get stuff like that done, and you can now decide to add your text if you want to add text. So before I add my text, I want to now keep this under control. So I'll select everything that has to do with this clipping mask here, right, and this guy here, and I'll put it in a group. So I'll select this one here. In the first, I'll select the head, hold Control, click on the next, click on the next, click on the next. While holding Control, then I'll press Control G on my keyboard, or click on this group icon here, and I have a group here, and I can rename the group man like that. Okay, so I have this group here, which is just the man. I can turn the group on and off. Should that make sense, everybody? Right? In case I want to move everything together, I'll just click and select all the layers, and I can move the layers together like that. I want to transform, simple. I can just transform together like that. You see, because they are all selected, so you can transform and reduce the size like that. All right. Then you can accept. Then you can now write your text. Click here, and I can write. Can I just write someone and then John Doe like that? Increase. Can change the color to white. And that's how you get something like this done. Okay. Simple, right? Alright. And that's it for this video. So we have seen blend modes, okay, and we have seen we have just gone back to our selection and masking. Okay. So your assignment, as usual, is to get this design done. That's your assignment. Okay. You get this same thing done. I'll provide the images for you guys. Provide all of these images you can use, and have your name here, then have graphic designer here. Okay. So if there are any questions, do let me know, and I'm going to handle those questions. Alright guys, so that's it for this video, and see you guys in the next one. Remember, ask your questions and I'll answer your questions. Feel free to ask questions. Alright, catch you guys in the next one.